Good morning, everybody. I hope I have cell phone coverage. I had a great morning with my daughters. Went out for breakfast. A little restaurant in Stony Plain called 28. It's an excellent place. Got to take my mom out too, so we had fun. They're having a nap, and I've got lots to do at the party today. But I want to do this video as a major video. And it's funny, I've read all this stuff in the United Nations Security Council. Often I talk about South Africa in relation to Canada's colonialism, but right now is Israel and Palestine and the go at it in the Gaza Strip and as well Israel. It's the back and forth constant fighting, and now it's escalated to unmeasurable proportions with the Hamas terrorists attacking Israel and Israel territory, Israel responding to the Gaza Strip, and of course Israel demanding that 2.3 million people get out. I don't want to get zapped again here, so I'm going to move. Apologize for that morning sun. Had a good spot, but I'll get zapped. Just give me a minute, folks. I'm just going to go down the way a bit. I want to do this video right because it's very important. Well, we'll see. It seems like reception gets worse and worse. Canadians pay the most for cell phone service in the entire world, bar none. But yet, these contractors, these clients who charge the most in the entire world, have the least amount of satellites and infrastructure in the whole world for Canada. So it's very pathetic. Which kind of brings me to what we're talking about, colonialism, powers of monarchies and kingdoms of the past. Palestine and Israel is not the only British foobar that was assigned to be a destructive thing out of the end of the Ottoman Empire, won by the British Empire. World power, superpower. This is all in relation to World War I and post-World War I into the League of Nations. And again, the most mighty country in the world was Britain. And then, of course, France, too. Both still constitutional monarchies at that period. UK still is today, but they agreed to some terms and conditions post-World War II, which gets us into the story of today. In relation to the Ottoman Empire and the mighty British Empire taking out the Ottoman Empire and imposing its colonial rules on its newfound assets, as well as France did too. It's not just Israel and Palestine carved out. There's an inverse, folks. There's an inverse at the same time. I did this live before on Cyprus, one of the forbidden zones out of that war and one of the wins by the British. And they said, we are going to take the Greeks and the Turks and we're going to rip out and carve out a territory right in the middle of their possessions. And we're going to boot everybody out. All refugees, Jews, Arabs, Greeks alike, get out of your homes. This is now a UNSCP-5 forbidden zone. There's a wall all around the forbidden zone in Cyprus. Some you can go and take a tour, but all of the people who own those houses, those businesses, those shops, all of it. There's car dealerships. The cars of the 70s are all still there. The clothing stores, all the clothes in the shop. Everybody booted out, became a refugee, sent out on the international stage. Go pick your place as a refugee. You're all out. The UNSCP-5 did that. Why did they do it? Monumental human rights violations between the Greeks and the Turks. They went over the 3% threshold, and the UNSCP-5 said, that's it. We're walling this territory, and it's game over for everybody. In relation to Israel and Palestine, they're this close. Right now on the news, Israel's already completely on the world stage, backed away from its get out of Gaza, 1 million refugee status to, oh, we're changing our bombing mission and our campaign to targeting Hamas in Gaza Strip. That's what they're telling the world anyway, because they've almost exceeded the UNSCP-5's threshold. Hamas is already there. Israel's this close to having the same thing happen to them. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I think the problem with so many colonials, like Canadians, I'm one too. I guess, blessed that I was able to take the UNSCP-5's historical records and read them all and learn about all of these countries former, these territories former, of so very, very many colonial states of the past and what's happened to them and still currently there. There are so many Greeks right now that lost their homes. Imagine somebody coming in like the Blue Helmets and cutting off Edmonton, Alberta and saying, you know what? The problems with the First Peoples and the Edmontonians, like Enoch and Edmonton, let's say it turned into a bloodbath. Let's just say Edmontonians said, this is ours. We're going to throw all the people of Enoch off. Edmonton surrounds you. You're no longer a reserve. You're the city of Edmonton. Get out. And it turned into a bloody fest. Pathetic, really pathetic. And I pay a handsome amount of money. But just imagine Edmontonians, Enoch, and the First Peoples of Treaty 6 in that reserve going at it in a bloody bloodbath, and more than 3% of the people on that reserve were slaughtered in a bloodbath. And the UNSCP-5 orders of fence not only put around Enoch, put around all of Edmonton, and everybody, all their property, businesses, doesn't matter, government, city, installations, infrastructure, everyone's out. And the UNSC sends in their Blue Helmets, all P5, orders you all out of your homes by military force. And Canada can't do anything about it because Justin Trudeau is handcuffed, Pierre Poilievre is handcuffed, Jagmeet Singh's handcuffed, and all the MPs are handcuffed and thrown in the UNSC's holdings. And imagine, and it was done. It's been done many times in history. I know no Canadians ever gotten this education. I know it's never been given. But this now is a reality for Israel, who's now shitting their pants. And I guess I should have put an 18 plus, but they are backtracking on everything they're saying because it's not just USA who has a say. In fact, Russia, China, UK and France and USA all share a say. And when they move together in history and they make something binding like COVID-19, whether we all like it or not, or how our governments went through that, that becomes binding on us. And that's what happened. And that's what happened to Greece in relation to Cyprus and the Turks in relation to Cyprus when you go over the 3%. And Israel and the Palestinians are very close to that. Hamas is already there registered, and now it's about Israel. This close. And you will see the world move on that because they will undermine their power. And I promise you, regardless of what the news feeds you, Western, Russian, Chinese, UK, France propaganda in their own nations, and all world news in relation to the General Assembly, I promise you, USA, Russia, China, UK, and France, who have a tremendous amount of the military might, value, and supply chains of this world, specifically 3 of those nations have the massive military might of the world, will not ever, ever let their power and authority go in this world that they achieved as the allies of World War II. They will never let it go, no matter how much crap you hear, no matter how much Commonwealth filth and spit goes on our national media. And already CBC interviewing, oh no, Israel's not going to go there. Oh no, it's just going to be a military exercise. No, we're not kicking out the 1 million. Because if they did, I don't care what you hear from Republicans and Democrats, when push comes to shove and USA loses its authority by removing itself as a P5, it won't do it. They will turn, Congress will turn, President will release a lot of records that I already know, they've already been released, but Congress persons will get educated on just what it would cost USA to allow Israel to go that forward in the world, on the world stage, and how much they will lose in international relations, massive trade and infrastructure, and USA won't lose that power. At the end of the day, they'll tell Israel to go bite it, just as they'll tell Palestine to go bite it, because you can't do on these 45 countries and then flip-flop for another country and say it's okay. They will destabilize all the relations with a tremendous amount of GDP generation. USA won't do it, Russia won't do it, UK won't do it, France won't do it, and China certainly won't do it. And that's the difference. And Canada is going to come a time where the reality of this is going to affect Canada. British Columbia is a ground zero. Six Nations is a ground zero. When we look at unceded land, our party's going to come forward with this. You're going to read it in the platform. I don't know if I'm going to finish today. I still have a lot of work. It's a lot of writing. I've got a good portion, a good start for everybody, but there's so much to go through. And this is international law that people need to know. Before this video, I put up a link for all of Cyprus and its history. I know 99.9% of Canadians and First Peoples have never heard this story. I've published it before, but I don't think anyone's ever really gone through it, and I don't think they realize what the British Empire did during its ruling power under the League of Nations, and just how fascist and socialist they really were. They make USA during segregation look like nothing. Really, when you look at the sheer numbers and volume of peoples around the world that Britain was doing even post-World War II. And to King George VI's credit, he undid a lot, but he didn't get in enough time. He did a lot for India and other countries and some African states. He was on to Canada. He was trying to get there, but he died in 1952. He never finished Israel and Palestine. He never got there. He never got to Cyprus. It's left as a walled, forbidden territory in the UNSC. And it was really up to the P5 power of UK to see that through. And folks, if you don't know how many areas of the world are under tremendous pressure, like Syria and Libya, when you look at Lebanon and all of it, you really don't have any clue just how evil colonialism has been. The British Empire of the time, and now the UK's reluctance to do anything, because they sure like feeding off that proverbial tit. They sure like their defined savages still all over the world. And through their colonial countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they sure love the sheer abuse that more than 1,500 multinationals enjoy tremendous wealth transfer, literally that nobody else gets in the world. You won't find this with Russia. You won't find this with USA anywhere near the same extent. And I think the USA has to really look hard at it. Democrats sure love to embrace that filth, whereas Republicans don't. And that's the big difference. Not everything Donald Trump did in his time was good. And he embraced a lot of fascism too. He embraced Queen Elizabeth. He did follow a lot and sign off a lot with the USA too. As bad as Joe Biden, no, but still enough to keep that alive. And I promise you, that's anti-America First. And if you ever want to know what America First is, 1921, Republican-led. And it should have grown. A lot of it has grown domestically. There's still many areas of the world where America's got to go back to America First. I hear a lot of people talking about it. God bless a lot of you who shared videos on people speaking out right now. And yes, largely people from the Republican side, and I know that too. But there are trickle-ins of Democrats who realize that. And I think if you combined the two in a straightforward narrative, doing what USA is designed to do, not what politicians looking for grandeur on the world stage, anti-American First do, you'll get back there. You'll get back there. Russia, Ukraine, Russia's a P5. Ukraine's going to be the one to go down. They should have embraced the federalism. It's the Minsk agreements. They should have given those Russian large portion obelisks federalism, still governed under Ukraine, but given the division of powers that would have allowed them their civil and cultural rights. Kind of like Quebec in Canada, and what the First People should get in Canada as absolutely a nation in the nation, just like the United States, and just like the Russian Federation does with its now 87 obelisks and republics sub under the Federation of Russia. And a lot of people don't know that. And why? Because there are only truly 6 federalisms in the world out of 193 nations. Many central socialist republics or constitutional monarchies. And really, they're unitary states. They're highly centralized, highly autocratic. And if they're not full-on monarchies, they're civil law socialist. And that's a mass majority of the world. It's something Canada should aspire not to be, not embrace. We're limited federalism. We need to get there. Our party and our platform is going to get there. So, you know, folks, study your history, look at what is, and now you will see the tyrants go really down when that 3% threshold, which again, Israel and the Palestinians are this close to crossing. Hamas already did, but now it's a matter of what are the numbers going to be for Israel. And they shit their pants. They know that they're this close. And again, USA, for all their rhetoric, and even Donald Trump and his baloney, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove on value and supply chains and the sheer power of the USA on the world stage, they will never forego their UNSC 5 power, no matter what anyone says, no matter what politicians yap. These things are cemented for the United States as well as the other 4 members of the UNSC 5, and they will never, ever let that go. Why would you? And because of that, Israel does not get a free pass. Palestine doesn't get a free pass. They're going to have... Boy, oh boy. Anyways, that's my video. Terrible cell phone coverage. We'll see a lot of you at 3 o'clock. Join in on the message group and reach out if you want to be in it. Bye now.